Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how I determined what was the problem with my blower motor in my car. There's multiple reasons why a blower motor may not turn on. Right now, I'm going to show you that no matter what I do to the dashboard as far as the controls go, it does not have an effect on the blower motor. The blower motor never turns on. I'm going to use the air conditioner. I'm going to turn the speed control of the fan. I'm going to change the temperature controls. I'm going to change the mode the system is in. I'm going to put it in auto. I'm going to put it in dual. And nothing comes out of that blower motor. The blower motor refuses to turn. And the easy solution would be just to replace the blower motor. But I want to make sure it's not the blower motor. It's not relays, it's not fuses, it's not the blower motor speed resistor. It could be multiple things. So we're going to go through some of the steps. And under the dashboard, under that glove box, is a panel. That's where the blower motor is and the blower motor speed resistor. So that area is going to be very useful. It's very easy to take off. It's just two screws, and I'll show you that in a minute.
Now inside your car you also have a fuse box. It's usually on the left side of the dashboard under the steering wheel, and you just pull it off and you can see that there's fuses in there as well. It also has a little panel that tells you which fuses go where on the back side of it, like this. Let me see if I can get a better shot. This is just for the Santa Fe, so it's going to be different for any car you have, but this is basically the setup. So you can see that it has all the fuses laid out. I have it on a piece of paper, and I'll circle the ones that have to do with the actual blower fan and the AC unit. That I have here, most cars have the same thing. They have a fuse box. On this fuse box, usually on the bottom, it tells you which fuses go to where. In my case, it also has the fuses and relays, which you should too. So there's two items on here in particular, and I'll show you on a piece of paper about them.
So here's a paper version of that relay and fuse box that's under the hood of my car anyway. And you can see that I have an A/CON relay on the top. I also have a fuse that I'm pointing to. Is number 9 next to that number 10 fuse. There's a number 9 that also has to do with ACON. And I also highlighted the horn on the bottom. The reason I highlighted the horn is I know the horn works, but I don't know if that ACON relay does. So I switched the two. They're the same relays in my instance. So make sure that if you're going to do something like that, that they're the same relay, basically a 12-volt relay. And so I switched those two around to make sure that it wasn't any problem with the relay. I really don't think there's a relay issue here. That relay is more for the compressor, but I switched it either way. And I also checked that number 9 fuse with my ohm meter, and it was not blown. So because it was not blown, I put it back in and I ran the test again, and it still failed. So for now, we know it's not the relays or fuses in this car.
That panel was really easy to take off, just 2 screws and it popped right off.
Here's a rough diagram of what we're doing. The speed control is in the orange. The fan speed is on the actual dashboard, and then the blower motor. And what we're working on now is the blower motor speed resistor. Basically, when you open that panel, you'll see it in there. And there's a connector that's on the motor. I took the connector off. As you can see, there's a connector there.
So as you can see, I got the connector hooked up to my voltmeter. My voltmeter set to DC volts. And as I turn the fan on, you can see the voltage actually changes. 13 volts down to 10, 9, 11. It's not linear, I can tell that. Thing is, why is there voltage going to that when the I turn off all the fans and stuff and there's still voltage going to that motor? I think that's kind of odd. Actually, more voltage is going to the motor now than it was when the fan was on. It makes no sense. You see that blue thing there? That's actually the resistor.
So at this point, I wasn't sure if it was the resistor or the motor, but there's an easy way to test the motor, and I'll show you that right now. So I pulled out the motor. As you can see here on the paper I have here, I only had 3 screws that required to come out. The motor itself only has one connector, and it's 2 prongs, as you can see, and it runs off of 12 volts. So I went and hooked up a wire to those 2 prongs using this 12-volt battery. Now, if you're going to do anything like this, be very careful. Do not short out the battery, and notice how that fan turns on the bottom there. You could cut your fingers really easy. You have to be extremely careful doing this. And on the dead motor, it did nothing. On the new motor that I got, it turned that fan extremely fast, by the way. So be careful with this motor. Do not touch those fins. Now, I also put an ohm meter on a connector, and I got 0 to 1800 ohms. But I put it on the new one, and I got 0 to 1800 ohms. So the ohmage isn't going to tell you if this is bad or good or not. Now, if the fan doesn't turn at all with your hand without no power to it, you know there's a problem with the fan. It's fused or something. But in this case, I just put 12 volts to it and made sure that that fan was not near my fingers, and not putting the voltage like that because it'll spin hard. You have to make.
Okay, so I got the new fan. Plugged in, and I'm just going to test it now with the speed control on the console. There it goes, it's spinning. Faster, 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 faster. Okay, I'm going to tell you something right off the bat. This thing is a lot faster than the old one. I think the old one never ran that fast, and that's why I've always had trouble with the AC. After 15 years of having this vehicle, the AC never worked really well. But with that kind of fan pushing out now, I think we're going to have some good AC in this vehicle. I also want to let you know that no matter what I put my meter on for voltage, don't go by what voltage you read off that connector, because it doesn't mean anything. Also, the resistance on the motor, it meant nothing. I got the same resistance on the broken motor as I got the new motor. So the only way I could really test it was putting a battery on it and making sure that it didn't run. So that's the only real test I can do with this motor. But it appears to work. Now the hard part's putting it back in. It's pretty simple. It's just that it's really hard for a normal sized person to get laying down there and get the screws in, but it's not impossible. So I'll do that now. 3 screws, then 2 screws, and we're done.